But you know, 24 years ago, when you was a Crew, as a 16-year-old, you made your debut. Can you believe it's 24 years already? I mean, when I was looking up about it, I was thinking to myself, it's been 18 years since we signed you, and where's that time gone? But as a 16-year-old playing in Division 1, what was that like, you know, being a 16-year-old? Because there were some tough centre-backs playing in them days. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I've still got a Sean Gregan-sized slash down my right calf. You know, he didn't care that I was 16. It was weird, to be honest. I was straight out of school, finished school in the July, and then I'm making my debut in the Championship in the November at 16 years old. It felt weird to go from being just a kid into a man's environment was strange, and you sort of a bit quiet, of course. But to then, you know, come up against players like Colin Hendry, you know, these international players that were in the Championship at the time, was just incredible. And I was still just a normal kid, obviously, but you're scoring goals and people are watching it, and then all of a sudden you're back with your mates, and it's just such a weird contrast to have when you're that young.
Well, when you come up again, I mean, I'm sure you got some initiations from some of them geezers. When you go past one of them, I'm sure they let you know. But you don't get that many opportunities these days. You look at yourself, 16 years old, but there isn't that many opportunities. You don't see many 16-year-olds coming through now. I think what's his name? Jude Bellingham. He's the last one I remember, really 16 coming through, who's gone on to the top level. Why do you think they don't get the opportunities there? Is the game just changed that much?
I think so, and I think, you know, they want them to develop so they're at a point where it feels as if managers don't want to throw them in. When I was very fortunate, I was at Crew. Crew was a club that you know, coached young kids and wanted to give them a chance, and that was their remit, to put kids in, to get them game time, to sell them on. That was how the club was run. So I was fortunate that I was thrown in, and every young player at Crew was thrown in, given 10, 20, 30 games to find your way, to have bad games, but learn how to play the position against the top level opposition, you know. And nowadays it feels like you get 20 minutes. And you've got to try and show yourself, and if you don't, and managers are very reluctant to give players that time because of the pressure there.
Do you think we're losing talent because of that?
I would say so, absolutely, yeah, because you need, as a young player, somebody to believe in you, somebody to give you the opportunity, but more than just 20 minutes. You've got to have 6, 7, 20 games to find yourself and feel comfortable, and I was fortunate in that sense.
In the top leagues now, I mean, when you see some of the, you know, our academy's a pretty good academy, they can't get a chance. It doesn't seem they can get a chance. And you've got people like sort of Josh Cullen sitting there till they're 24 years old and then have to leave. You know, they're out on loan, come back, out on loan, come back. And I think there's a few times when, if they'd have just chucked them in as a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid and given them the time, that some of these players could have developed.
Yeah, I think if you believe in that player, then you should be giving them the opportunity, and even maybe sacrificing a first team player for it, if you think that player is then going to develop and be fantastic for you. But at the same time, I understand how cutthroat football is. We're not going to wait for you to probably find your way if you're not good enough, and you can see with your own eyes if that player isn't good enough. It is ruthless. Football is so ruthless, it's unbelievable. And that's why a lot of players are quite selfish, me included, in terms of you've got to be selfish to get there in the first place. It's so tough to make it, and you're playing alongside maybe 4 other players, and you want to play. You don't want any of those 4 players to play. It's a strange environment to be in.
Do you think that's the sort of explanation of the YTS schemes and things like that, the way they was brought up in the early days compared to today? I think the desire's got a little bit
they're split, most of them, in terms of, you know, the first team have their buildings and pitches, and
that can't be good.
I think that's the problem with West
so.
Ham as well, is when, like back in the old days, like when with Harry Redknapp at Chadwell Heath, if Joe Cole was playing on the other pitch and a first team player got injured, he'd call him over and they get a chance. But now one team's at Rush Green, the other's at Chadwell Heath. David Moyes ain't getting to see these youngsters. So that's what I think is a bit of a problem at West Ham.
Yeah, absolutely, because he's got such a massive squad that if someone drops out, they've got a first team, probably international player waiting to have an opportunity and get a chance to train. So it's very different, it feels, like to when I was coming through, and you were instantly alongside the first team players, even if you weren't in the first team, you were mixing with them in the building all of the time. Some fucking scary characters as well to have to deal with, which now it's very different.
But yeah, I mean, you had a great career at Crewe, 74 goals, 177 appearances, and then you got a move to the Premier League with Norwich. I mean, as a youngster, you dream of playing in the Premier League. So, how was that feeling, knowing you was going to play in the Premier League?
It's what you dream of. It's what, when you're in the garden on your own, practicing. I was Mark Hughes or Shearer, just shooting and thinking, well, I want to be playing in the Premier League against the best players. And then all of a sudden, you get that move. Very grateful to Norwich, record signing for them. So there was pressure there, but I just thought, this is my opportunity. I've played enough in the Championship and League One. This is my opportunity. And it is strange because you go from playing in the Championship with great players, of course, but then you're in the tunnel and you're looking across, and all of a sudden it's John Terry, it's Rio Ferdinand, there's Shearer, there's Henry, Bergkamp, Drogba, there's all these players that you look across and think, fuck. I've got to try and be as good as they are, and I've got to try and get the better of that player. And it's hard not to be in awe because you watch them every weekend on a Saturday, match of the day, and watch them closely, and all of a sudden you're there up against them, and you've got to try and forget that you're kind of a bit in awe of them and realise that, no, we're equals and I've got to get the better of them.
No disrespect to Crewe, obviously. You had a great career at Crewe. But did you feel like you was a step above, not Crewe, but the division?
I was. It's just, I think I got in really early, and as most of us would do, went out on the piss, had a fucking fantastic time, and wasn't fit enough, wasn't at the level you need to be at professionally at that age, and it probably came a bit too soon for me, and I wasted probably a couple of years in that middle part where I really was better than where I was playing, but it took me time to stop drinking and ditch the women and concentrate on playing football. And once I did that, I then just went straight up in terms of my quality, and it then felt a lot more natural.
Yeah, I mean, the season ended in relegation, but look, everyone gets relegated with Norwich, don't they? Like, I think I've been relegated with Norwich and I didn't even play for them. So you got 7 goals in 16 appearances, and obviously a lot bigger clubs were starting to look at you then. But one game that stands out for me in that season was Man City at home. You scored a great goal in that, but it'll always be remembered for the Delia Smith rant. Well, or motivation speech, whatever you want to say. I mean,
was you there then? That game.
Yeah, if you watch the video back, just as she finishes, I walk out of the tunnel, oblivious to what she's just said.
He gave her a shot of Jack Daniels. But yeah, no, you had as I said, a lot of it. But you decided to stay with Norwich in the Championship. Did you have any offers from Premier League clubs, or did you just think, I want to show Norwich a bit of loyalty because they give me a chance?
I mean, they obviously offered me more money, which will always persuade most players. But there wasn't anyone that came in, which I was disappointed about because I'd had the first taste of Premier League football. I didn't want to go back to the Championship and do fucking Saturday, Tuesday and slog it out. I wanted that feeling of being in the Premier League, so I was a bit gutted, if I'm honest.
7 goals in 16 games and nobody came calling.
No.
That's crazy.
I was so gutted that nothing came about. I think there was maybe a spot at Everton at the time, and maybe a couple of other clubs. And I know James Beattie got bought. I think maybe Andy Johnson got. I can't remember, but players around, my level were getting bought, and I didn't. So I took the little rise in pay and carried on at Norwich.
No, yeah.
Joined West Ham, big move for you. Back in the Premier League. When did you first hear of interest about West Ham and being in for you, and was it an easy decision? Was there any other clubs that was trying to get you at the time, or was it just West Ham?
I know Man City were interested, not to the level that they are now in terms of finance. I think it was when Stuart Pearce was involved. But there was a price that Norwich wanted, and West Ham I think were first in terms of that. And I'm going to be honest, I
I knew West Ham was a big club, but I had no idea of the size of the fan base. I just didn't, you know. And when I went to meet Pardew, just in a hotel just off Dartford crossing, and I walked in the room and he had a big projector up. And
He's looking at himself.
yeah. I mean,
This is chocolate.
chocolate. Yeah, he would fucking eat himself, wouldn't he? But he just put on this unbelievable presentation for me about the history of the club, the size of the fan base, the fact that I'll never ever go on another holiday again without West Ham fans being there and coming up to speak to you, about how, you know, the team is set up for me. You know, you're going to have crosses from wide with Benayoun and Etherington. You're going to have a mentor in Teddy Sheringham. You know, you're going to have Marlon up there that's going to run the channels for you and give you the space you want. You know, I came out of there feeling like Diego Maradona. You know, there was no way I wasn't going to sign for the club, and it was a fantastic decision in the end.
So, yes. So, what was your first impressions of the squad, the players? You've already mentioned once Teddy Sheringham. I know you're a big fan of his. And what was it like to go from, no disrespect to the Norwich players, to turning up at Chadweath, and you've got the players that we've got there at the time?
Yeah, I mean, I noticed the difference straight away in training. The level was just so much higher, I thought, than Norwich, and the level was good there. But at West Ham, it was different. There was a different mindset. It was a great squad, to be honest, because it was such a sort of young British-based squad. So I knew quite a few of the players. I knew Nigel Reo-Coker, I knew Anton Ferdinand. I played against a lot of the players like Ginge and Gabidon, who had come through the lower leagues as well. So it was a fantastic squad to just integrate into. And then you have Teddy Sheringham, and to me, you know, he was one of my idols growing up. You know, you think of Euro '96, you think of Holland and the game they played, and he was just unreal, and he was for many clubs in the Premier League. And for me, it was a proper honour to be able to learn from him every single day. To go in, he used to come in, 100 press-ups, 100 sit-ups, shredded. He was 39 years old. You know, he didn't have the pace, of course, at that point, and I just watched him in training, and to learn from the positions he was picking up. You know, he was up against athletic defenders, but he always just found the space. It would be just a one-step move, and he'd find space, ball would come in, bang, he'd just finish it. He was just like clinical in everything he did. And just to watch him, he had that aura of somebody that had won the treble. You know, he had that about him, and I just watched him closely, stalked him if you like, and I just wanted to be as good as him, and he was just a great character, quite quiet to start with, until he probably you gained his trust, and then you saw a different side.
Then he got the cards out.
And then he got the cards out. Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. And the thing is, you know, I made the fatal error of walking in next to him when we went into Nubar, I think it was. I thought, I'll walk in with Teddy, I'll be fine. And as we walked in, it's like a beam of light just shot on Teddy. And the VIP area was in the back there, and it's like he just got on a travelator and just floated across the bar. And I turned into Quasimodo with lead boots on. He was just so cool. Just everything about him was just so cool. And, you know, never would I walk into a bar with Teddy again.
One of the iconic games that season was your debut. I mean, can anyone remember Dean's debut? Who it was against? I'll give you a clue. It was the last team to win now. Arsenal, yeah. I mean, how mad was that? See, you was on the bench. We go to Arsenal and win. I bet you're thinking, oh, we're going to win the league, huh? What a team!
Do you know what? When I was unveiled to you, the fans, it was Fulham at home. It was Benayoun's chip and Anton Ferdinand's volley. It was unreal. I think it was Repka's last game. The atmosphere was unreal. The goals I was watching, I was thinking, I ain't going to get in this team. Like, what have you bought me for? And then I go and sit and be part of the squad against Arsenal. Bobby was unbelievable. Just ragdolled Sol Campbell for I think the second goal. And I was thinking, I ain't going to get in. I'm not.
It was a good season. Yeah, it was a really good season.
I mean, yeah, that Fulham game, like, we've just signed you for 7 million, and Anton Ferdinand scoring volleys like that. We're thinking, hang on, put him up front.
I know. It's the only goal he did score.
He
absolutely milked it.
It was that record signing, right? And I want you to answer this without thinking too much. £7.5 million back in 2006. What's 2006? 2006. How much would you be worth now?
Oh, great question. Great question.
Higher, lower.
80 mil?
Yeah.
That's fair.
80 mil?
That's fair. Higher? How much? How much?
400.
No, yeah, you're definitely like in today's game. You'd have been. I reckon 100 million plus easy. You was for me the next Alan Shearer type player. I think you was what England was crying out for. And as much as I wanted you to play for West Ham for the rest of your career, you would have had a big move. And I always thought that you would have been perfect for Alex Ferguson at Man United. I think he was the sort of striker that he would have gone for.
I mean, I think, yeah, he obviously had Teddy Sheringham, so he liked that type of striker that wasn't necessarily about pace, which was what I was about. But I think it's very kind of you to say, but, you know, Alan Shearer's the best. You know, Teddy Sheringham's one of the best. I was still young, still up and coming, still had a lot to prove. My goal record, if you look, wasn't incredible. It was nothing like what Kane is doing, what Haaland is doing in that sense. I think I was a different type of player. It wasn't just...
He's playing for bloody West Ham, though.
But I don't think I was that, you know, proper goal scorer as such. I wanted to be involved a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great season, newly promoted. We finished 9th. Obviously, last game we stopped Tottenham getting the Champions League, so everyone loved that. Lasagna Gate. I mean, you wasn't playing at the time, but you was obviously at the ground. I mean, what happened now?
It was bedlam because they had no idea who was going to be able to play. So they had players coming out for the warm-up and then going back in because they couldn't. I think Carrick went out, came back in. A couple of other players.
It was carnage in the tunnel, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was bedlam. It was brilliant, actually. And
they literally shit themselves.
I mean, it was just, and then the performance from the lads. I mean, Fletch scored a screamer, didn't he? I think from distance, and I think Yossi stuck one in the roof of the net, if I remember rightly. So, yeah, it was a special day.
Yeah, definitely. And then our season didn't end there, and this is when I knew I was interviewing you. I can't wait to talk about that FA Cup run. But the third round, we played Norwich at Carrow Road, and you was injured that day. But if you would have played, you'd have obviously been cup tied, so you couldn't play. So, was you injured, or did you know you was going to West Ham, and you thought, yeah, well, I might have more of a chance of getting to the FA Cup final with West Ham?
Is there any lawyers?
Switch the camera off.
No, I was definitely injured.
Yeah.
Definitely injured. Yeah.
Really.
I was.
We'll keep it there.
Yeah, I believe you. But yeah, look, we beat Blackburn, Bolton, and then we go to the semi-final. Man City in the quarter-final.
Yeah.
2 goals. Your first goal, I think my mate Andy sitting over there, he said it's the best goal, one of his favourite goals. Mine as well. I mean,
it was my favourite.
the technique. You scored some great goals, by the way, but that for me was your best goal. It was unbelievable.
I think being against Distan, who's a quick player, for me that was always something difficult to play against a quick player. So to be able to produce something that looked quick in terms of the chop and then the finish was pretty cool, to be honest. And I really wanted to have a part to play in that cup run because the players had got through to that point, and then here I am just turning up almost and getting a start in the game. So I wanted to prove that I was very much part of the FA Cup run. So to get that goal felt really special at the time. 'Cause it was still quite early in my West Ham career.
There was big competition for places up there as well.
Well, we had 4 or 5 strikers. We had myself, Marlon, Bobby Zamora, Teddy Sheringham. You know, when you think now, we'd do anything to have 4 strikers to choose from.
You're like, what? But yeah, look, we obviously got through, and then the semi-final at Villa Park. What a day that was. I mean, I think this is where the FA Cup's lost a bit of its magic, where the semi-finals are now at Wembley, because the whole point was getting to Wembley. But now I feel that players play at semi-final at Wembley, they lose, and they feel like, oh, I've played at Wembley.
Yeah, especially like a smaller club. You know, they get to Wembley and they think, well, I've done it now. You know.
But obviously Villa, iconic ground. You know, that day I always remember the chant like Johnny Lyles, Claret Blue Army. I mean, what was it like for the players?
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, the game was properly shit, but it's a semi-final, and I remember when the draw came out, us celebrating the fact that we got Middlesbrough instead of Chelsea or Liverpool. You know, that was such a crucial draw, and we knew I think we're the better team against Middlesbrough. But it's just that you don't want to lose the semi-final. Yeah. So it was tense. There was a lack of quality. I remember Gabidon was unbelievable that day, especially. And then we get the goal from Marlon. And then what's special is the scenes afterwards. You know, when you've got a stupid wig on and you're running around and the whole of the West Ham support are going bonkers. It's just that's what you dream of as a kid.
Dean, that weren't a wig, that was just Christian Daly's ear.
Yeah, true. It was just, it's that semi-final, and you talked about Villa Park. It just has that special feel, definitely.
What are them last moments like? I mean, you flicked it on pretty late, didn't you? Marlon finished it. What are them last moments like when you think, come on? Like 10 minutes
we at that point, we can't do much as a striker. You know, you're hoping that your defence does the work because they're going to be bombarded. And you know, I felt like we had a strong defence at that time, and that they could hold out. And yeah, you just pray, because we're out of it really as forwards. We're waiting to see. I was looking at the bench actually to try and get an indication of still how much time there was left, and special when the whistle goes. Very special.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the build up to the FA Cup final as well. I think it was you and Matty Everton were both out injured. It was touch and go whether you was going to play. Bobby Zamora was in great form at that time, and I think that Pardew, how late did he leave that decision to put you in? Because was it the day of the game that you both found out?
I think it was an hour and 31 minutes before kick-off. I mean, you're right. I'd pulled my hamstring away at West Brom. I thought my cup final was over. I did absolutely everything I could to get fit. So specialist physios, oxygen chambers, special massage.
Did Pardew arrange them?
And chocolate. he had a great touch. He did. And so I did everything to get fit, and I trained on the Wednesday. You're right, Bobby Zamora had been brilliant. He played really well in that game against Tottenham as well. And so it was a big decision for Pardew. So we go down to Cardiff. We're in a beautiful hotel. We get down there. We have the evening meal, and then we go into a room, and there's the flip chart, and Pards whips the team back, and there it is. Shaka Hislop in goal, Scaloni right back, Gabidon and Anton at centre-back, Konchesky at left-back. Hey. You had Fletch and Nige in the midfield, Etherington on the left, Benayoun on the right, Marlon Harewood up front, and then a big question mark on the form. He just said he couldn't decide between me and Bobby because of what had happened leading up to it. He said he needs to sleep on it. Fucking thanks very much.
How did you sleep?
I didn't fucking sleep. Me and Bobby, obviously. So everyone else could relax, knowing they're either starting on the bench or not in the squad at all. Go off, relax, have a good night's sleep, be ready. I thought, well, it'd definitely tell us when we're putting our suits on. Surely, still nothing.
Funny enough, I was going to mention them suits because they was a bit. I tell you what, I was looking at them. Who picked them? Who picks them? That sort of thing.
Who did pick them? You're right. Who picked them? We need to find that out.
Yeah, because they weren't a good.
They weren't as bad as the Spice Boys.
No. But, yeah, so I think, well, surely he'll tell us before we get on the bus. Still nothing. Surely he'll tell us when we get to the ground. Still nothing. So even when we'd got there and you walk out and you take it all in and you wave to your family and that's meant to be a special sort of moment, I was still not sure I was starting in the biggest game of my whole life.
At that point, are you looking at Bobby thinking, do you know what? If we both get to the toilet, I'm going to fucking give you a little kick in the head. You know what I mean? Or do you just shake hands and say, may the best man? all that nonsense.
In the hotel. All right, Bobby, I've got a nice bit of lasagna over here, so I'll have a bit of that.
I couldn't look at him. He couldn't look at me. It was horrible, honestly. Yeah. It was so, because it's the biggest day of your life. You know, I'd grown up, 8, 9 years old. To me, the FA Cup was everything. You'd wake up early, you'd watch it. as they showed the team at the hotel, and then the bus going to Wembley, and all of that. To me, the FA Cup final was bigger than European football. As a kid, that's what I saw as the big event. So there I am, an hour and a half before the game, not knowing if I'm starting in the biggest game to me that I've ever played in. Luckily for me, it was me that chose to start. God knows how Bobby felt, because to him it would have been the same. It would have been the biggest game.
Yeah, I mean, look, the game was unbelievable. Probably still the greatest FA Cup final of all time. We found ourselves 1-0 up. Jamie Carragher own goal, and then just after, you put us 2-0 up. Wasn't the greatest of goals, but as a top striker, you got to be there to tap it in, and then your celebration after, you could just see the joy in your face. It was just like, yeah, I've just scored in an FA Cup final. Because we all dreamed of it as a kid, and you've done it.
Yeah. I mean, it felt like I hit it from 30 yards and it went in the top corner. That's how it felt. I don't know how it looked to you, but that's how it felt.
You sound like Konchesky when he tells us he meant that goal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. It's the only picture I have up in my house of me playing football, so I don't have anything else really. It's just that picture, because as strikers, we're quite vain. It's all about us. We think about our celebrations because we're sad bastards like that. So
in a mirror and all.
Everything, yeah. We think about it. So that to me is the one of the only pictures where that's just pure joy of scoring a goal. What that meant to score in that final. And so I keep that picture up in my house because it's real, it's raw, it's what it was.
Yeah, I mean, look, Liverpool get back 2-2, and then you think to yourself, oh, look, Liverpool are going to go on now and win it. And then Conch, he says he meant it. I'll be honest, I don't care how it went in. But when that goal went in, did you think this is going to be our day?
Yeah.
No, I thought he should have crossed it to me.
I think he was trying to be.
No, I genuinely, as it went over my head, probably swore because it was a shit cross and it went in. But at that point, I can't remember exactly what time that was. There was still enough time to go, but when that type of goal goes in, you think it's got to be our day.
Yeah.
It surely has to be. There's an own goal. The keeper spills one and I score, and we score from a cross. You just think this has got to be our day, and they're going down with cramp. They looked like they were struggling for ideas, and at that point, you're thinking we're going to do it, and that's when I got dragged off.
I mean, yeah, and then...
Not that I'm bitter.
I mean, Stevie Gerrard, at that time, he was one of the best players in the world, Liverpool European champions. He was cramped up, and you just wish it could have fell to anyone else on that pitch, but... About 10 seconds before, you're thinking, fucking Scaloni. I wish Thomas Repka was there, because he had just booted that straight into the crowd, but it fell to Gerrard, and then he's hit it, and I don't think Xhaka was expecting it. I don't think anyone was expecting it, and there was only one player in the world at that time that could have done that. I mean, how was you feeling when that?
I mean, I was on the bench. I was... like everyone else, expected to run on and celebrate, had my tracky top on, ready for that, and you're not expecting it. Like you said, down with cramp. He was down with cramp probably seconds before he got up and made a little bit of a jog before it fell to him. He's just one of those very, very special players. Sometimes you have to hold your hands up and just go, this guy's a joke. He's a very, very special player, and at that point, he was like at the peak of his powers. That was the year after Istanbul and then winning the European Cup. He was unbelievable. It's a ridiculous strike. It's just outrageous the way he hits it, and it was just gut-wrenching, absolutely gut-wrenching to see that go in.
Yeah, we had that big chance in extra time as well. Marlon couldn't get his leg up, and it went to penalties, and I just think that we put so much into the game that the penalties just drained us, and I think it was only Teddy that scored. And was it Zamora, Konchesky and Ferdinand that missed? And it was hard, and it's still hard to watch back now, and it's been a long time, but I think everyone in here will agree that we were so proud of you boys on that day. Liverpool were a great team, and you just give us so much. Yeah, you pushed them right to the end, and in my eyes, you deserved it. We won that FA Cup that year, and I won't have anything else said.
No, it's, a lot of the fans say that to me and to some of the lads, because I think that's how it felt to us as well. It felt like we'd done everything we could, and typical of Pards, there was no talk of we're going to sit back. It's Liverpool. It was, this is how we play. We play attacking football. We get it forwards. We get it wide. We get the ball in the box to our centre forwards, and that's how we went about the game. And we very, very nearly pulled it off. I think, obviously, again, hindsight is a wonderful thing, but we didn't have our main penalty takers there. They did. If you looked at their lineup, there's players there that took one in Istanbul. Penalty takers that were ready to take it. We didn't have that at that time, and that probably cost us.
Yeah, I mean, and then, look, I know, obviously, it's a big part of, obviously, your career and your story, the England call-up, and it's where the incident happened with Sean Wright-Phillips. You broke your ankle. First of all, how excited and how did you find out that you got called up to England?
So at that point, the club were notified, so I think the club secretary told me that I was going to be part of an England squad, which again, a bit like the FA Cup final, is the dream as a kid, to be part of an England squad, to wear the 3 lions, and so I was unbelievably excited. And the fact I'd had a mega pre-season as well, cut a bit of weight off, brilliant, been properly professional, was super fit, played brilliantly in pre-season, was really looking forward to the season, and then I had this opportunity with England as well at the start of the season, start of a new manager in Steve McLaren, and so for that to happen, you don't expect as a player to be with England. You're going to make your England debut the next day, and you're there at Old Trafford training with all the cameras around, and then in one moment your whole life changes. I was so unfortunate in the way it broke. At the time, obviously I was more devastated that I thought my England chance was gone. I thought, this is my own, that's what you think this is your only chance. And here it is, it's been taken away from me. I think I let out a massive scream. I tried to hold it while I was on the grass, and then once they took me into the dressing room at Old Trafford, I just broke down with Gary Lewin, the physio. Again, of the thought of, this is my England chance gone, this is the start of my season gone as well with West Ham, and at that point you then, well, how long is this? Is it a year? No, it's probably these type of injuries, 3, 4, 5 months. So I'm thinking, okay, I can be fit for Christmas maybe and try and get my head around that, and obviously things were very, very different in the nature of how I broke it. The recovery was so tough, so tough.
I mean, what was your sort of feelings towards Sean Wright-Phillips? I mean, have you spoke to him since, or have you ever had that conversation with him? Because the thing is with Sean Wright-Phillips, I look at him as, I feel like I'm not saying he done it on purpose, because of course he didn't, but he sort of took away your career, and he was a player that was just happy to sit on a bench and take money, and wasn't really interested in playing for football. So, have you spoken to him? Have you ever seen him since?
Yeah, no, we've spoken and seen each other, and I think, people probably think that it's because it's ended your career, it must have been horrific. I'm just really, really unfortunate with the way I broke my ankle and the damage that it did to my cartilage at the time. I was just really, really unlucky. Other players will break their ankles, and in the way that they break it, it means they can come back. Doesn't give them an issue. I was just really, really unfortunate in that sense, and I'm certainly not the type of person to sit and be really, really bitter towards anyone. That's not. I watch tackles all the time, and I think you're an inch away from a serious injury. It can be that close. It's just, why did it have to be me? That's the hard question that you have to deal with. Why did it have to be me?
Yeah, I can imagine it's tough. I mean, it ruled you out for the 2006-2007, the Great Escape season. I mean, how hard was that for you? I mean, going to the training ground every day, not being involved. The players will come in. I've heard you do an interview before where you said the players, you could hear them laughing and joking and you're not involved. And obviously we're struggling on the pitch and you not being involved. You want to help the team, but you can't. I mean, how was that?
Fucking awful. I'm going to be honest. It's the worst nightmare for a player. you know, and you can tell teammates find it hard to know how to talk to you about it because they've got to focus on the weekend. You don't want to think of bad injuries as a player. And you sit in that physio room every day, you watch them come in, they're having a great laugh because it's the best fucking job in the world. So they're coming in, everybody's happy every day because it's the best job in the world and you're basically playing football with your mates. So they come into the physio room, it's fucking brilliant, you love listening to it all and being part of it, then they disappear. And then you can just hear it again out on the training pitch and you've got to sit there day in, day out with a fucking physio. You know, it gets tedious very, very quickly, and that's the mental side of it where you've got to be really, really tough.
When you've sort of distanced yourself from that, I mean, it must be really tough. But because we were struggling, I mean, we had a really good season the season before. Then we've got these two Argentinian internationals turn up at the doorstep, which was the maddest thing that I've ever seen, that's for sure. Could you see any changes in the squad, in the management? Why we were struggling? Like, could you look at it from an outside perspective? Because when I'm sure when you're involved in it every day on the training pitch, you may not notice the differences. But do you notice it looking from the outside in?
Yeah, you definitely notice as the confidence drains away from the team not getting results, the pressure's starting to tell what it's like during the week. You can tell that when you're injured, and I think that team had pretty much maximised itself the season before. It was an unbelievable season, you know. To go from the Championship to that season was incredible. Maximised the players, and I think there was naturally going to be probably a drop-off. Yes, you brought in two incredible talents, but Mascherano never really got to the player that he became. It took him a while. Tevez did because he's a maverick, and he was able to do that. But you could sense that, and I think the thing with Pardew is because everyone got on with him and he got on with the players and we played such attacking football, but if it goes wrong, I think that was then difficult to maybe be hard on the players because of that relationship he had and the camaraderie within the squad. It just really struggled with that. But the fact that they stayed up, I think Tevez showed what a maverick he is.
Well, Curbs came in, didn't he? How did you get in with Curbs? Curbs the Pards, make the comparison.
Oh, Jesus.
Chalk and cheese.
Chalk and cheese, yeah. It's either VIP or watching Coronation Street at home, you know. But I've met Pard since, and he's a top. Honestly, Pard's a top bloke. But in footballing terms, he came in totally different, very methodical, very defensive. Worked incredibly hard on the shape. Really boring if you're a forward, but it worked in terms of getting the team into a better shape to win football matches. It was just the contrast, but I guess that's what they were going for. They wanted a different style to try and get us out of trouble.
Points,
How was Curbs with you? Was he always like in touch with you? Did you say, look, you're still in my plans, you know, I want you to get back, you know? How was he with you?
No, he wasn't like that. He was he was ruthless, you know, and I think that's fine, absolutely fine. I don't mind if a manager wants to be in that way. Of course he checked up on me, but it was about the team, who was playing Saturday, who he could work with. I don't think he ever really fancied me as a player. I don't, because he was starting to play one up front and he was picking other players. Once I was fit, I don't think he thought I was properly fit. He wasn't sure I was running properly, which I probably wasn't because I wasn't the same player. But he wasn't picking me in the starting 11 and I couldn't figure that out because I thought I was the best forward, as every forward thinks. So my relationship with Curbs was always quite standoffish because, you know, the manager gets on best with the players that he picks on a Saturday. But that's the ruthlessness of football.
I mean, you obviously worked hard in pre-season, but you got back on the pitch in August 2007, literally a year after that injury. I mean, what was that like? I mean, being back, you know, not only on the pitch, but training with the first team again, being back around your mates, being back on the training ground.
Yeah, you become a bit of a kid again, like you were when I was 16. You live for every training session. You buzz about going in early. You want to do everything right, you know, and that's how I felt. I just couldn't wait to get in and be part of the team again. And then I think we played Roma at home in the pre-season game, and I threw one of my really slow step overs that Mexes properly went for, by the way, and then scored. And that roar again at Upton Park that's what I needed to really then push on, to stay fit, to be ready all the time, and I think I was pretty good in that season in terms of my attendance to games. You know, I was available a lot during that season,
Yeah,
considering
35 appearances.
Yeah, which I was really proud of, considering. And also, I think what maybe fans don't understand is with these really big injuries, is it takes something away from you. So, for me, you know, I'd like to think you know this, but I was brilliant with both feet. So I could shoot equally as good with both feet, left and right. And it took away that ability to strike the ball with my laces because I couldn't point my foot anymore. Yeah. So I had to curl everything. So that takes something away from one of my big strengths of being able to smash it with my left foot. Yeah. If you think of City, if you think of Everton at home, that left-footed strike that I had, that was taken away. I had to curl everything, which is not great. You have a favoured leg that you jump off. I thought I was great in the air. And, you know, my left foot is that favoured leg, so I couldn't jump off my left leg anymore.
Was you trying to hide that a little bit from
I just
manager?
had to, they all knew that. That was part of it. But I worked my way around it. And then so I had to wrestle defenders rather than getting up and winning the headers. You have to adapt, but it's really, really hard when you can tell you're not maybe as good as you were, and you want to be for everyone that's watching, but that's really difficult to maybe hide.
You scored 11 goals that season. I think you was our top goal scorer as well that season. But one goal that stands out, Old Trafford, overhead kick. You know you've scored a good goal. You know you've scored a good goal when even the Man United fans stand up and applaud you.
Because they're fucking wankers,
they're 3-0
up.
They was 3-0 up, but it was like Tevez scored against us, scored a screamer, and it was like you said, yeah, watch this. Fuck off, Tevez, watch this. And it was an unbelievable goal. I mean, best goal of your career?
Yeah, definitely. I think to do it at Old Trafford, you know, I grew up near Manchester. I had friends in the ground watching. I mean, they had Ronaldo, Rooney and Tevez as their front three. They were unreal. I think Tevez scored, Ronaldo scored. But, you know, it's just one of those things. I always think as a forward, that's what I thought of. I want to score special goals. I want to try something that's there that maybe other players wouldn't. And I would always do that. Even if I fell flat on my arse, my fat arse, then... You know, it wouldn't matter because I'd prefer to try something and it come off than not at all. And that was just a perfect opportunity. Sent Rio to the gym and then just...
You wrestled Rio off. What did he say?
Huh?
Did he say anything in the end? You got up? He said, fucking hell.
He said I fucking heard the ground shake.
It was a brilliant goal.
Yeah, brilliant goal. And in the summer you signed a new 5-year deal with the club. And you also got called back up to the England squad, and you finally, after all that heartbreak, you finally got to make your debut in an England shirt. I mean...
Deserved.
Yeah, well
deserved all the way through.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You've got to be a special player to play for your country, and what was that feeling like? I mean, it was giving me goosebumps now thinking about the national anthem, you know, lining up for your country, you know, the players there, you know, what a moment.
Oh, I mean, you know, when you think about it as a kid, it seems so far away. To eventually get that opportunity, especially after what I'd been through, just felt incredible. You know, you think of your England debut and you think Wembley, the Maracanã, the Bernabeu. You don't think of Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. It's not. It doesn't just come to mind. But I didn't care. I couldn't give a shit. This was my time. This was my opportunity. You know, Fabio Capello, Postman Pat had given me a chance, and you know, like you said, to stand there with the 3 lions on your chest, the national anthem. You look across. You got players like Beckham, who was the captain. You got Steven Gerrard, you know, Defoe, Gareth Barry. You know, great England players, and you know, it's very, very special. You know, it is really hard to describe because it's that moment of realisation of what you've achieved. Right now, you are one of 4 of the best strikers the country has to offer that's fit and available, and that feels pretty special with how hard it is to get there. And you know, okay, I got dragged at half time for fucking Peter Crouch, but it doesn't matter. I am going to milk every last ounce out of that cap because it's so hard to do.
Have you still got your England shirt?
Yeah, I've still got my England shirt and my cap, and that takes pride of place because of, and I'll always be very grateful to Fabio Capello for giving me that opportunity.
I think you might be the only one, because I've heard some of the stories of him in that squad and taking their tomato sauce away from the table and the sugar and all that from the tea. They didn't really like that too much.
I mean, yeah, obviously great season for West Ham, first England. Did you feel that your career was sort of back on track now? You feel like you're over the injuries, you're going to have, go on to just have the career that you dreamed of?
No, because it was hard. It was really hard. I wasn't the same player. I was having to do a lot of routine before every training session. So I thought I'm probably not going to have a long career, but I definitely thought I'm feeling better all the time. That pre-season, I remember thinking, feel really fit and strong. I didn't go away on holiday. I got married actually and didn't even have a honeymoon. I just stayed and trained to be fit that pre-season to then start the season. And at that point, I thought, well, I'm going to definitely have a great few years because it's starting to feel better all the time. But then, things change very quickly.
Yeah, 2008-2009 season, obviously Zola comes in charge. And his first training session, your ankle goes again. How was you feeling at that? Did you think, this is it? This is my career now?
Yeah, you get to that point where, I'm 24 years old. I'm struggling to get out of bed properly. Getting downstairs is hard work. Everything I do, if we go to the supermarket, I've got to sit down halfway through because my ankle's killing me. You're having injections to try and get yourself fit, which is not particularly nice and productive, but you're trying your best to get yourself there and to be part of that. As Zola came in, I was thinking I was going to come back, but just doing the warm-up, we were just running around as you do, having a chat, and Kieran Dyer goes, "Is that your new boots that's clicking?" And I was like, "No, that's my ankle." And at that point, it's, I had bits of bone floating in my ankle, so as soon as the session started, one of those got caught, and I had to leave the training session, and I really felt like I was going to properly burst into tears, and Scott Parker went, "Don't you fucking cry. Get yourself off first."
I'm surprised Kieran Dyer said this. He must have sounded like a zip tie when he was running.
Yeah, I bet you made Kieran Dyer feel better about himself. I bet Kieran Dyer's going, "Oh, look at him fucking injured again."
He's only got one click.
But yeah, look, 11th of December 2009, you officially retired from football. I mean, it was a sad day because as West Ham fans, I think we all knew it was sort of coming, but we couldn't accept it. We were thinking, nah, he's going to get fit. We need our Dino back. But, that must have been a hard day, hard decision for you.
It wasn't because I was glad. I was glad that it was over. I was glad that I didn't have to push my body to places it shouldn't really have gone. I had young kids. I couldn't do things with them. I was at a point where I knew I couldn't be a professional footballer. So why am I putting myself through this pain every single day? It actually was probably 3 or 4 months later that it really hit me what had happened, and the fact I actually wasn't going to come back from this, and there wasn't an operation that was going to possibly get me fit, and that's when I just completely went into my shell. Because how do you get over that? How do you cope with having to stop the thing that you've done from when you're like 6, you dream, you've just got there, you're at the pinnacle, and it's taken away from you. How are you meant to cope with that? I still don't know now how you're meant to cope with that. It's just a case of, like I said, I took myself away. I didn't come to the ground. I didn't watch football. I just tried to immerse myself in family. I went from playing in front of 75,000 people at times to sitting around singing nursery rhymes with 12 kids. It's just and their parents. It was such a weird experience to have to try and get back to. But what I have got, and I always have had, is a brilliant grasp of reality. Football's not real. It's like a fantasy world that we get to be part of. Where in life would when people come up to you, when you look at a stand full of fans when you've scored, and you've got every demographic going absolutely mental.
Yeah.
That's not normal. When you don't
In society.
exactly,
Yeah.
it's just not normal to be treated the way you are as a player, to earn the fortunes that you get to earn. It's a fantasy world, but I've got that grasp on what's actually important, what's actually, what you can enjoy away from the game. I enjoy having a pint with mates. I enjoy playing a bit of golf. I enjoy being at home with those things that just do every single day. And I've been part of that fantasy world, and I loved it, and I was so happy to be part of it. And I can always say I got there, but it's not real. So
It's not the
reality
be-all and end-all.
is day-to-day life, and so I got back to that as quickly as I possibly could.
I mean, I know you said sorry. I know you said to me privately that once you retire, the club don't really reach out. I don't think the national team reached out. Is that true?
I think it was certainly football then, in terms of once you're an asset effectively, and once you're not usable as an asset, then I don't think there was the protocols in place to check up on people. It's not like people were ringing regularly to check up. I think the ownership at the time was murky, to say the least. So it's not like you would have the chairman as such giving you a phone call. But I got that. That to me, that was the reality. It's not great, and I was able to cope. I'm sure some players would struggle with that.
Yeah.
But there needs to probably be more in place for players and I'm sure there is now. But then it was like your yesterday's chip paper, and that's it. You move on.
Did you have any support network from any sort of ex-players? Anyone that ever went through that? Did anyone give you a phone call out of the blue,
Alan Shearer.
Oh, really?
Alan Shearer got in touch and said, "I'm so sorry to hear what happened. Here's my number. Call me anytime. Anything you need, give me a shout." That's not a bad boost to have. Just if you've got $5 million, that'd be great. Thanks.
I mean, look, you retired at 26. FA Cup final, England cap, played in the Premier League. You should be proud of that. That is an achievement that some people will never, and I know you'd like to have had. And if you could take that England cap away, saying I'd have another 500 league games at the top, you probably would. But honestly, you should be so proud. And you had a 9-year career as well, because you started obviously at 16. So some people don't even get that opportunity. So
no, thank you very much. I am really proud of that, because I know lots of friends who were with me from the start who wanted to make it, had the same dream as me. Didn't get to fulfil it. I did. I got to be there. I got to play alongside some of the greatest players we've ever produced in England, to play for fantastic football clubs, to be treated the way I am by you, the fans, now afterwards. That's something special to
Did you realise how high you was regarded by us?
I still don't. Somebody was talking about it. I still don't, because I only played a season and a half. I don't realise that. And when I come to these sort of things, it's amazing how great it makes me feel that people feel that way.
Sold out very quickly, I must say. These guys sold these tickets.
yeah, no, everyone, like the build up to this, everyone's been saying to me they're looking forward to the night. But 7 years later, you get an opportunity, Mark Noble's testimonial, to come back to the bowling ground and. I mean, I never thought in my life I'd see Julian Dix left back again and Ian Bishop set up Dean Ashton for a scissor kick at the bowling ground. But it was a fantastic day, obviously, for Mark Noble. I mean, what was it like being involved in that, seeing everyone again?
Well, to be honest, I was at Centre Parks the night before in Nottingham, and you know them fucking tree climb things you have to do and you get dragged up to, and I tweaked my back slightly, and we then had a few drinks that night, and I sort of said to my wife, I could fucking do without this, to be honest. I said, my back's killing me, I feel a bit ropey, like, shall I just... And she went, no, come on, we're all going, we've all planned it, it's for Mark Noble, you know, and I went, oh, yeah, I suppose. But I was thinking, well, I've got to drive down from Nottingham, I'm going to have to put one of those tight shirts that they've now got, which will make me look like I've got sausage skin on. I know I'm going to be on the fucking bench, because Di Canio and Bellamy and Sheringham are going to get to start. And I was just thinking, fucking could do without this. Anyway, we got to the ground. Great to see the lads. Unbelievable to see the whole ground just full of West Ham. You know, how it's so rare to have that. And I just saw it as a great day for Mark Noble. On the bench, take my medicine, I'll come on probably for a few minutes and that'll be me. So then when I got the chance to come on at half time, I don't know whether you can remember, but there was a chance that came to me after about 5 minutes of being on. It got crossed from the right hand side and I couldn't sort my fucking legs out. And all I had to do was tap it in and I like fell over, it hit my stomach and just dribbled wide, and I thought, see, that's why I shouldn't have fucking turned up.
Especially when you've just watched Adrian run the whole length of the fucking pitch.
Exactly. But then obviously the ball was wide and it got floated in by Bish, and I just thought, fuck it. Why not?
Did you feel the old instinct when it come up? You felt,
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
I'd feel super confident doing an overhead kick. I'd practiced it so much as a kid. You know, I knew how to do it. It felt quite comfortable. So I just did it instinctively. It was perfect height. I just thought I'll go for it. And honestly, the noise of that roar, because I think the game had gone into a bit of a lull, and all of a sudden, because of that goal, the noise, when I watch it back now, it's like incredible. I've never heard a noise like it when I'd scored. And then to just have the reaction of everybody, all the players and the crowd, and then for the crowd to sing my name, and the fact my kids were there who hadn't seen me play and maybe didn't understand that I played, and they couldn't believe that the whole stadium was singing my name or their dad's name. That just felt so special. And then to get, thank you. And then to get the amount of GIFs and memes of like earthquakes when I looked at my phone, I thought it was delightful. And I think even Peter Drury, his line was, he said, well, Dean's just given Upton Park the last ever heavy roll. Done me dirty.
But yeah, it was a great day, and I feel that we never really got to say goodbye to you. You never really got to say goodbye to us. It was a perfect way, you know, seeing you again on the pitch, scoring goals like you do. It was just a special moment for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I felt the same. It was just a brilliant day.
Yeah, no. But look, I've got some quick fire before we go into the break. I've got some quick fire questions. So, who was your?
Don't think too much about them.
Nah, just reel them off. Okay. I'll skip some out. Okay. Who was your footballing hero growing up? Like, who, when you was a kid in the back garden, who did you pretend to be?
So, originally it was Gary Lineker. Ball over the top from Paul Parker. Took it on his knee, swiveled left foot against Germany. That moment meant I wanted to be a footballer. Like watching that, I thought I want to be him.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Best player you played with? It can be for England.
I mean, Gerrard played for England, and he was head and shoulders above everyone else. I thought he was head and shoulders above Lampard, Rio. He was just, Gerrard was unbelievable. I think for West Ham, Craig Bellamy. Craig Bellamy was the best player. He was frightening when he was at his best.
Who was the worst player? I mean, Gene said Savio. I mean, who was the player that you looked at and thought, how the fuck are you a football player? Be honest.
You turn the cameras off for this one.
I mean, Freddie Ljungberg was a shadow. And he wasn't that bad, but I've only ever heard one player get booed while he was warming up before he came on. This is you lot. And that was Boa Morte. He went out to warm up and you booed him. He wasn't even on the pitch.
I totally forgot about Boa Morte as well. What about I think I know the answer to this, the funniest player in the dressing room?
Bobby Zamora. Bobby Zamora was just... And that was crap because obviously we're fighting for the same place, but he was just so funny. Just the way he ripped people was just class. That's That is what you miss about being a player is going in every day and having that.
It's the banter, isn't it?
Oh, it's just unbelievable, yeah.
And anyone from that era, like when we had Ginger, he says exactly the same. That squad, that dressing room at the time was
Brutal. Brutal.
And you had Jimmy Walker in the background. He's a nutter, isn't he? Best manager you played for? Pards?
Yeah, Pards, because he had the mindset of attacking, and I love that. As a forward, every day was about how we're going to attack.
Funny enough, we loved that, no?
Yeah. So, Pards for me, yeah. He just made you feel good about yourself, gave you confidence.
What was your favourite away ground to play at?
Highbury, probably. I like the proper old style of ground, and that had this kind of special quality. It had the marble in the dressing rooms, it had the heated floor that was quite special. It was really close to the stand. Yeah, the pitch was perfect. I loved it there.
Who's the worst set of fans you've ever played in front of? And don't say us.
Everton are quite intimidating, I would say. When I was a kid playing for Crewe, playing there, I'd heard a few things that I'd never heard before as a 16, 17-year-old. But Goodison, noise levels were ridiculous as well at that place.
Is there one manager that you would love to have played for in your era?
Sir Alex Ferguson for me. I think growing up in that area, the success he had, ruling with a sort of iron fist, I didn't mind that. That was, you knew where you stood as such, so to be part of that, I guess, a winning side, it would have been amazing.
I mean, take away like the money that's involved now, would you swap playing in your era to playing today's game?
No, I wouldn't know. I preferred the football then. You know, I'm still very much wide players. You know, we don't play with two centre forwards anymore. That to me is mind-boggling because it was an integral part of attacking. Link-up play, you know, that's just dead. That doesn't happen anymore. So I loved it back then. It was about getting in the box. It was about scoring headers. It was much more fun.
And the last one in this half, if you could just relive one moment in your career again, what moment would that be?
The FA Cup final goal. I think that feeling, you know, the noise, the scenes, the limbs, the fact that we were 2-0 up against Liverpool. It just felt that was probably the absolute peak for me personally. When I look back as well at how my career went, that I sort of peaked right there. That was an incredible moment.
Give it up for Dino. Dino.